This is Mac Bolin of IllinoisMatmen.com, and I have the pleasure here to have Leiden, Athletic Director and Illinois Wrestling legend, Randy Conrad with me here. And first of all, I want to say, Coach Randy, congratulations on hiring John Kading, and obviously he's been successful at the high school, college level. Did you particularly, was he the guy, like you were specifically going after?
Well, I knew that Leiden deserved the best coach that we could get. I mean, it has such a rich tradition, and as I get into the twilight of my career at Leiden, I thought that this was my last-ditch effort to leave Leiden with somebody that I felt so comfortable giving it to, and that, getting John Kading was not so easy to do.
Well, he had a good season at Mount Carmel, yeah.
Yeah, he just finished taking second state and really a legend in his own right.
Yeah.
And so to get him, I feel really, really lucky to have him, and feel like I could sit back the next year and a half and just watch what he does. He's pretty fun to watch.
And you mentioned tradition, and on that note, I want to go back because you had the opportunity to wrestle for probably one of the greatest coaches in wrestling, not just Illinois wrestling history, but wrestling history, in Chuck Farina. So go back in the 70s, particularly, you remember that 1978 East Leiden team, that, 12 weight classes, 4 firsts and a third, I believe yourself, right. Chris, Farina, Bankston, and then Garrett was a third place. And very amazing team. But go back, what was it like, wrestling at East Leiden then?
Oh, I think most of the people, we call it the old school wrestling, and when I run into people like Mike Poles and some of the other guys that we all were together at one time or another, it just was hardcore wrestling. It was tough wrestling. The parents, it was a different style of wrestling back then, and the parents didn't cut you any slack either when you got home. You were cutting a lot of weight back then. Weight cutting was a big part of it, and made you meaner probably. I think we're still mean today. Most of us guys walking around with angry faces, but back in the day, talking about Chuck Farina, what he did for us and what he did for, I think, wrestling in general. I mean, he wrestled for Purdue himself, a Big Ten champion, and I got to know him my whole life. He was like a second father to me in many ways. So he did not cut us any slack, and he was very rough on us. And I don't know if he can make it in today's day because it's a different society. But I would never go back and trade what we did. And I have the opportunity of having still coming back and being an athletic director at Leiden High School. We actually had won football state championship the same year we won wrestling. And
wow.
We are still a very tight group of people. We're sitting here in our mid-50s, and we get to find each other at Thanksgiving and Christmas times and stay connected.
Yeah.
So I think just growing up in that period of time in that area was probably the best upbringing I could ask for.
Even though he didn't wrestle for Leiden, coach's son, Mike Farina, I still see running around from time to time.
Right.
He still follows the sport.
I see him too. I see Mike all the time too. I mean, he was part of kind of part of the wrestling even at Leiden in the off season. Come summertime, I mean, he was around wrestling.
Well, he's a great Greco-Roman wrestler.
He was. I mean, he made it to the Olympics, and not many people back then in the United States was making the Olympic team and wrestling out there.
No, and I've spoke about this before, and I want your thoughts on it. You guys did well. The Farina teams, they did well in the individual state championship. But your guys' strength were dual meets. And I believe East Leiden had 2 really long streaks of undefeated dual meet seasons.
Right.
And I've often said, had there been a dual team state championship back then, East Leiden might have won, who knows, 10, 12 titles. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's the argument, because we've had so many great teams after Leiden that have done so well, and I get it, whether you want to put the Providence in there and the Mount Carmels and all the others, and I never want to take away from all those schools, because all we do is get an argument that nobody can win. But you're right. I mean, I don't believe in the 4 years that I was wrestling, I don't believe that we lost a dual meet, and so we just didn't get the opportunity to go ahead and wrestle for a dual meet state championship. It was all done by the individual points, and with that, you're right, we were just as strong, if not stronger, as a dual meet many times. And I'll be honest with you, the year that we won state in 1978, I mean, we had a fantastic, I mean, we doubled the points of everyone and the individual. And we had a couple little weak spots in there that we may have had been stronger in dual meets years prior to that.
Sure.
You know? I mean, we were that good years before, but maybe not as strong individually. So, yeah, I don't know where we would be in that, you know, and it's impossible to do it. So I'm not arguing with all you people.
Right. Oh, no, but
you know.
but the fact is, I mean, you guys had like, I think it was 59 in a row and then another streak close to that.
Right.
Of just, and not just wins, but demolishing everybody. And I can remember back in the Bob Hollands, you know, the guys, and back when I wrestled Oak Park River Forest High School, I mean, East Leiden was, when you thought of wrestling, the first team you thought of was East Leiden. And it was such a tradition back then, so I can honestly see, you know, why going forward, you know, you wanted to get the best guy possible and maybe reignite that.
I do, you know.
That success.
I mean, I think things come in waves, and you know, you look at the Sandbergs now, you know, and you look at Oak Park right now, and they're just dominating. You know, people are actually flocking to the community, and I think back in those days they were doing it with Leiden, and you know, I hope everybody moves back to Leiden to be coached by John Kading. That's my goal, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, whether they do it legally or, you know, the fact of the matter is when people are moving in and saying they're moving in, I mean, that's what the IHSA has to deal with now is, you know, the people who are doing it honestly and some that aren't doing it honestly. So, you know, we try to, as an athletic director, and I think as the IHSA, we want to try to keep it a fair playing field. And
Sure.
if people want to move into the community to wrestle, you know, all power to them.
Yeah, well, and actually back then too, it wasn't just Leiden, it was East Leiden and West Leiden, and West Leiden actually had some pretty decent wrestlers too.
You know, we said that all the time. And God forbid if we would ever lose to West Leiden, and we had some heck of a matches, but Frena would not let us see the light of day if we lost to West Leiden. That was like the least of East could never lose to the best of West. It was the saying back then.
It was a great rivalry.
It was. And now, as athletic director, we're combined.
Yeah.
You know, it brings a whole new advantage and disadvantages to it when, you know, kids from two different schools are coming together for an athletic program. But it's fun.
It is. All right, well, thank you very much, Randy. I really appreciate your time, and good luck to the Leiden Wrestling program going forward.
Okay, thank you very much.